At that time, it would be yes.
So at that time, Muhammad, if he's doubting the Quran, would need to go check the previous scriptures to clarify his doubts that he would have in the Quran, right?
In this hypothetical, yes.
Okay, good. So in this hypothetical, now watch this. In this hypothetical, if Muhammad's doubting the Quran, he can go check the previous scriptures. If the Quran is lined up with what the previous scriptures say, then Muhammad would know that the Quran is truthful, right?
In whatever context that is asking about, yes.
If the Quran is in line with the previous scriptures regarding this context,
sure,
then he would know that the Quran is truthful. If the Quran is not in line with the previous scriptures, then he would know that the Quran is false, right? On this context.
Yeah, in that context, yes.
So then pertaining to this context, it's the previous scriptures that are the judge over the Quran, right?
Well, yeah, in that scenario, it would since God is confirming it, it would.
Hi, welcome back to this channel. On this episode of this debate with Godlogic, this video you're about to watch is one of the most best conversation Avery has had in a debate with a Muslim. This is one of the most honest debates you will ever watch about Christianity and Islam. Let's watch this video to get more fascinating details.
Yeah, I understand. How would you know if Muhammad was in line with what Jesus taught?
Yeah, well, then we would come back to the Quran itself, right? Is it a reliable source from God, right? So we would need to figure that out first. And there's different various ways we can look at that, right? Preservation of text, right? It would be probably the most crucial aspect. If the text isn't preserved, right? Whether we're talking about, the Bible, the Quran, or, the Torah, anything in between, that kind of off the get-go wouldn't be the case. So from a Muslim paradigm, and obviously from a Muslim perspective, we do believe the Quran is kind of preserved. It was written, obviously, the history, right? I'm sure you're familiar with that in regards to how it was sent down.
Can I cut in right here? I don't think that the preservation of a book would show that if the book is from God or not.
I agree with you. Yeah, so I agree with you. I'm just saying that's as a basis, right? If it's not preserved, it wouldn't be. Not saying you can have Shakespeare preserved doesn't mean it's divine. I'm with you on that, but just talking about like at a base level that if we don't have it preserved, I wouldn't consider that a reliable source to come from God. I think.
But if you wanted to see if Muhammad and his teachings, i.e. the Quran, is from God or is consistent with what came before it, how would you test that? How would you verify that?
Yeah, so I think two different kind of points in that regard. I would have some contention in the latter part that, in regards to what consistent would mean. It's a little bit different from the Muslim paradigm, right? I think what the first part would be the Quran itself, right? It claims to be a miracle, kind of has linguistic miracles, historical facts. We go to the Prophet, peace be upon his life, from his Sunnah. He has predictions for the futures, different type of things. So we can do, those type of tests and, put those claims where they are testable and see if he was a truthful person and did those kind of match up in history.
If I came across and I saw Muhammad's claims and I saw that he said some things that he got right. I'm seeing, okay, he says this is right, this is right, this is right. He's checking a lot of boxes. But then I run into something else and he says that, he's also consistent with what came before him. How do I check if that's correct?
Yeah, so the Quran itself says it's the Furqan, right? The criterion, and it's also Muhammad, right? A guardian, kind of the overseer or watcher.
The Torah is the criterion as well.
I'm sorry?
It says the Torah is the Furqan as well.
Maybe we could look that up. From what I'm familiar with, the Quran is considered the Furqan, right? Specifically for that.
Chapter 21, verse 48. It says that we gave.
If you want to bring it up, we can look at the whole kind of verse and see exactly.
Yeah, I got you. It says that we gave Moses and Aaron.
Yeah, I think it says it's a light, a guidance, but the Furqan I think specifically mentions the Quran.
It calls it the Furqan as well.
Sure.
21. You read Arabic?
Yeah, a little bit. Nothing crazy, but we can go through the Arabic as well.
Okay, let me put the Arabic on too. I'm not sharing screen. There it is.
Yeah, dhikr. Yeah, dhikran, lil muttaqin, for the God fearing. So it's a reminder or remembrance, right? Which the Quran is also called the dhikr. But it wouldn't be the Furqan, right? In this scenario,
Does it call it the Furqan here?
where are we seeing that? Sorry.
I'm asking it. Does it in this verse at all? Does it call it the Furqan?
Which word are you referring to? It would be the Furqan.
So there it is.
Okay. Yeah, definitely. Fair enough. It does say that. So, obviously within the context, and no doubt, we would also, I would concede that point. It also applies to that. But also, like I mentioned, the second point, Muhammad, right? I don't think that would apply to the Torah. It does specify the Quran in that sense. So, again,
I think it would.
and I know you're familiar with the points. You had debates on people on this, like, is the Quran claiming to follow essentially, a continuation of the previous kind of scriptures, right? From that sense, and what we would say, the Quran essentially, or at least the Muslim paradigm and teaching is, right, that what aligns with the Quran, right, which would be the, which refers to Muhammad from here, and even kind of like a scholarly, Muslim approach, generally speaking, is what aligns with it. We have no problem attesting and believing to. What doesn't really matter, or let's say we're kind of agnostic for things that aren't really mentioned explicitly in between, because what I would argue, and
that's not helping me. If I'm seeing what the Quran claims, like all of this is it's just circular reasoning. I'm trying to determine objectively if the Quran is telling the truth.
Okay.
So how do I test the Quran when it says that it confirms the previous scriptures, and I can find Muhammad in there and that it's in line with the previous scriptures? How do I test that? It can't be the Quran because the Quran's making the claim. So how do I test that?
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying right here. The Quran deliberately changes or fixes the stories that were done, right? Like Exodus.
It doesn't fix anything.
Well, at least from the Quranic paradigm, it does, right? So, for example, Exodus is a very...
From the Quranic paradigm, it's not fixing anything from the Torah.
No. I'm saying the Quran is deliberately changing details that are very well known in the Christo-Judo world.
So then that would mean that the Quran is not... It's not confirming what came before.
Yeah, it doesn't claim it's confirming everything.
It does. It says
it doesn't give a whole blanket statement that it confirms everything. That's why it calls.
Yeah, it says it confirms what is with them. It doesn't say it confirms part of what is with them.
No, but because that's why it says at the end, the verse you're talking about, where it talks about the Torah and the Injil and the Quran being the Muhammad. That's what it means. That it's the overseer, essentially, of all these books.
Yeah, a witness to them.
Of course. There's multiple meanings.
Not a judge over it. Okay, so let me run this by you.
Sure.
You have 1094, where Muhammad it says that if he's in doubt about what has been revealed to him from Allah, to go and ask the people who've been reading the scripture before him. Agree with that verse?
Yeah, it says if.
Yeah. So what is the point of Allah sending Muhammad to the previous people who read the scriptures, if he's doubting the Quran, if the Quran is the supreme Muhammad, this overseer of the previous scriptures? Why would Allah send him to the previous scriptures to clear up his doubts about the Quran?
Yeah, well, first it was if, right? He doesn't have doubts. It's more hypothetical. So
I didn't say that he did, but it is a hypothetical. In the case that he doubts, he needs to go check the previous scriptures to clear up his doubts of the Quran. Why?
Yeah, but you have to look at the context of when that was sent, right? So you could open up the tafsir specifically, if you want to open it up, and you could see the whole story behind it. What was said, when the verse was revealed, and what specifically he may have been questioning, right?
Yeah, everything before that is talking about the previous prophets. And if you open Ibn Kathir, he mentions how Muhammad's mentioned in these previous scriptures, so he can go and ask them about it, and they'll say yes. And he gives examples where Muhammad did this. He was like, does your Torah mention me? And they'll say yes or whatever. And
yeah, so we do believe that obviously in the original kind of preservation, which you will claim that it hasn't changed, but the Muslims will claim that the original revelation in the Torah and Injil had those scriptures.
No, I know what Muslims claim. I'm talking about the Quran. Why would Allah, if the Quran is the judge over the previous scriptures as you're trying to portray,
sure.
Why would Allah send Muhammad to the previous scriptures that are a lesser authority to to clarify his doubts if he had them in the Quran, the supreme authority.
Yeah, well, this goes to also to the point of what was at the time of Medina or Mecca at the time, what was the Bible or the Torah and the Injil over there. In your previous discussions, right, just quickly, if I can just kind of expound upon it.
That's not answering my question.
I am. I'm getting to that right now. I'll tell you that right now.
Okay, so I need a direct answer, please.
Yeah, I know, but let me just kind of paint the picture, and then it's going to come in at like 5 seconds right after that.
Okay, so 5 seconds.
Yeah, so essentially, right, the Torah and the Injil and the Medina are not the same that you have today, right? So what he's confirming are things that are true, that could have been true, and what was there at the time.
Okay, all right. How would he have known if what was in there was true or not?
Because God is telling him to talk to those rabbis or priests in Medina or Mecca.
So, couldn't they have lied? How would he know that they're telling the truth?
Because God is all-knowing, and he knows which version of the Torah and Injil he has, and he can.
How would he know that they're telling the truth about what the base of the truth is in their scriptures, right?
At that time, it would be. Yes.
So at that time, Muhammad, if he's doubting the Quran, would need to go check the previous scriptures to clarify his doubts that he would have in the Quran, right?
In this hypothetical, yes.
Okay, good. So in this hypothetical, now watch this. Mm-hmm. In this hypothetical, if Muhammad's doubting the Quran, he can go check the previous scriptures. If the Quran is lined up with what the previous scriptures say, then Muhammad would know that the Quran is truthful, right?
In whatever context that is asking about, yes.
Okay, good. In that particular context.
Yeah, because
if the Quran,
it could be a specific point.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah, let's say it's a specific point. Let's say it's talking because in the context, it's talking about like if you go like way further, it's talking about different stories of the prophets and of Israel.
Yeah, that's fine. It could be something specific to that.
So let's say it's talking about all these stories that it just mentioned, right?
Sure.
Okay. So now, if the Quran is in line with the previous scriptures regarding this context, then he would know that the Quran is truthful. If the Quran is not in line with the previous scriptures, then he would know that the Quran is false, right? In this context.
Yeah, in that context, yes.
So then pertaining to this context, it's the previous scriptures that are the judge over the Quran, right?
In that scenario, it would since God is confirming it would. But again, it's limited. It wouldn't be a wholesome.
No worries. No worries. Let's say it's limited to that particular context.
Sure. Because we agree, right? We do agree that there's truth, right, in the Torah and the Gospel, even remnants of what's today. So that's not something that we would be against necessarily.
Yeah, but this is what I'm saying. My point is that when you have a clear example where it's the previous scriptures that are the judge over the Quran, to interpret that the Quran is a Muhammad, meaning it's a supreme authority or judge over the previous scriptures, is inconsistent with the Quran. Because if that's the route you're taking, then you have a contradiction where the Quran is the supreme authority, yet it's pointing to a lesser authority to verify it. That makes no sense.
We wouldn't say it's the lesser authority because in their original forms, these are all God. They're all originally. But however, right? Obviously, we feel that they were corrupted over time, right? So which is why the Quran came as a final book to confirm, right, certain things that
confirming is not correcting. And it doesn't say it's confirming certain things. It says it confirms what's with them.
Yeah, of course, but it doesn't confirm everything because the stories.
Where does it? Okay, can you show me where the Quran says it came to confirm some of what's with them, or a part of what? You don't even have to give me those exact words. Just give me something where we can infer that the Quran is saying that it only confirms some of what is with them.
No, there's a general confirmation that's given, and then within the context of the Quran, it also mentions that people wrote. And attributed things that were to Allah that were not. And they also, right, continuing with, because you have to look at the Quran as a whole, right? We're not going to just take one statement.
I know.
The same way we're not going to take the Torah, the Bible, the Injil, everything like that as well. The Quran also says that the Torah was given to the rabbis after Moses, right, to keep the book kind of in place and stored, and they didn't do it.
He trusted them with it.
Yeah, and then he says they didn't do it.
No, he didn't. He doesn't say that they distorted it.
No, because
not textually, at least.
Yeah, no, it does say distorted. You can argue now about the text or like.
So this is the problem here. This is the problem here again.
Sure.
Because this is literally what the Islamic dilemma is. If we're going with your position, you have to say then that the Quran is confirming distorted scriptures, pointing to and appealing to distorted scriptures, because it literally says that it confirms what's with them. If what is with them is distorted, partially distorted and partially true, then the Quran is confirming distorted scripture.
No, it doesn't. If you would be correct if it's left that statement alone. There's the same way I'm telling you other texts are saying that they did distort the scriptures, and it's confirming certain stories that were within the Bible and the Torah.
No, that's what you need. What you need is the verse, because what I can give you is I can give you a ton of verses where the Quran says over and over and over and over and over and over and over again that is confirming what is in their hands, what they have with them, what is in their possession, what they have in their presence. I can point to you a bunch of verses that say that all over the Quran. What you need to show me is where the Quran says that it's confirming only part of what is with them.
But that's what I need to see. In other places of the Quran, it says they attribute words and scripture to Allah that was not legislated by Allah. And they said they distorted it, right? They said they distorted it. The same point we mentioned with the rabbis, which you brought up and you agreed with, that they were given entrustment of the scripture and they failed. So you have to take everything in context. You can't just pinpoint one point. Within that context, let me just finish that point. Then you can say, within that context, right? It is saying both. It's not. You have to look at it from a plurality perspective. It is saying there's certain truth, right? And the example you bring it up, if you doubt, right, is confirming certain points. At the same time, it's mentioning how the rabbis and priests did distort the scripture. Both things are true. Okay.
Can you show me that? Can you show me in the Quran where it says that it's confirming part of what is with them?
No, I'm saying when you look at both of those multiple verses, that's the conclusion to come out of it.
I know it's your conclusion, but it's not the Quran's conclusion. And this is my point. If we're going with your position,
so what are you concluding from those three, like those multiple verses? What's your conclusion?
My conclusion is that the scriptures are intact and reliable for judgment, for proof, reciting in truth, for affirmation. That it's good. In no way is the text of the scripture unreliable. However, the Quran points at the people, some of not even all of them, some of them being deceitful, lying about what their scripture says, distorting it with their tongues, changing verses out of their context, right, misinterpreting them. The Quran is consistent on that, but it's never points to a textual corruption, never. And if it did, then it would be contradicting itself by confirming books that are textually corrupted.
Yeah, that's where we kind of fall apart. I wouldn't see it as a contradiction. It's just you can still confirm something that's partially true or not.
No, you can't. You can't. You can. What does it mean to confirm?
Just to accept, It
attests to the truth. It's attesting that this thing you're confirming is true.
Yeah, of course. But there's general statements and specifics. Yeah, of course.
If I confirm your statement, I'm confirming your statement. I'm saying that your statement is true. Right? If I confirm a book, that book is true, it's valid, it's reliable, it's authoritative. So the Quran makes a blanket statement. It's confirming what is with them. What's with them, what they have. So what is with them is true. You as a Muslim and others are coming to me and telling me that what was with them was distorted partially.
Yeah.
So this means, look, Quran says, scriptures that is with them is true. Muslim says what is with them is distorted. So point 3, the Quran is saying that distorted scripture is true.
Yeah. So let me ask you that. Let's assume your point right here, right? Just a question related to that, right? Do you believe that the Torah and the Injil that was, the Jews and the Christians were discussing with Prophet Muhammad at the time is the same Torah as today?
Absolutely.
Okay. So I'm sure you were the hadith of, when the Jews try to avoid stoning, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So you're familiar with the lines that come in when the Jewish, rabbi was covering his hand over the verses, correct?
Yeah.
And the verses, the verses in that Torah in Medina specifically mention the eyeliner, 4 witnesses. Is that part of your Torah today?
Can we bring that hadith up where it says that?
Yeah, we can look at that. Yeah, I have to Google it. I don't know if you have it, but
I'll try to search myself too. I'll try to help.
Yeah, I'll look it up. No problem.
It helps when I do bring the Torah. A lot of stuff will pop up.
Yeah, I know. I'm just looking at that stoning one.
Okay.
And again, I appreciate the civil conversation, man.
You too, man. It's a breath of fresh air.
Like I said, I've seen the streams, and look, I'll be honest. I've been seeing you for a while, so I've always been wanting to kind of get on and have discussions. I've seen you, even also with Hamza's Dan and other kind of Muslim speakers. So I think it's always been a good conversation. So I'll give you this much. Look, it definitely gave me food for thought. To kind of look into these things.
Get from back there. Sorry.
Yeah, no problem. And I thought you brought up a good point. So, I will give you that. I think it's good to reflect on whatever position you're in either way.
I appreciate that.
See if we could look this up.
So I think I found it.
Maybe if you want to pull it up, yeah, we'll see if it's the same one. Yeah.
All right. So let's see. All right, let me read the super chat real quick. Jason Casper in the house says, confirm definition, establish the truth or correctness of something previously believed, suspected, or feared to be the case. Thank you so much for that, Jason. Always coming in clutch, man. Always coming in clutch. But yes, exactly. So it's establishing the truth or correctness of a thing previously believed. All right. Yes, let me pull this up on the screen. All right. So this is Sahih Bukhari. It's not there. Sahih Bukhari 6819.
Yeah.
I think this might be what you're talking about.
This might be it. Yeah.
So narrated Ibn Umar, a Jew and a Jewish were brought to Allah's apostle on a charge of committing an illegal sexual intercourse. The prophet asked them, what is the legal punishment in your book? They replied, our priests have innovated the punishment of blackening the faces with charcoal and tajbiyah. I guess that's the eyeliner, right?
Probably, yeah. I don't know the word, honestly, but we can continue. Okay.
So blackening their faces and that.
And that.
They're saying that's tajbiyah is
essentially distorting the punishment, whatever the actual one was. Yeah.
Right. Abdullah bin Salam said, "O Allah's apostle, tell them to bring the Torah." The Torah was brought, and then one of the Jews put his hand over the divine verse of the Rajam, stoning to death, and started reading what preceded and what followed it. On that, Ibn Salam said to the Jew, "Lift up your hand." This is crazy work. Like they really tried this.
Yeah. we all agree this is a deception, regardless of that.
This is wild, man. Yeah. Like, come on.
Yeah.
Behold, the divine verse of the Rajam, the stoning, was under his hand, which is in the Torah we have. Yep. So Allah's apostle ordered that the two be stoned to death, and so they were stoned. Ibn Umar added, so both of them were stoned at the Balat, and I saw the Jew sheltering the Jewess.
Yeah. So this one doesn't mention specifically the eyeliner. I think this is a story. I'll try to quickly look up if there was another narration that talks about that. I remember you discussing this, I think, on another stream as well with another Muslim. I forgot. What's his name? John Fontaine, probably.
No.
Right?
Yeah, John.
Yeah, and I think that's where he brought it up. I'll see if I can look it up. Give me a second.
Yeah, these are the hadiths he's mentioning. But all of them they don't mention that it's like it's in the Torah, but that it's what they innovated. Let's see, this one says, so when they asked, "Oh, what's your ruling in your book in the Torah?" They replied, "We blacken their faces with coal and beat them." He said, "Don't you find the order of stoning in the Torah?" They replied, "We do not find anything in it." Look at these guys.
Yeah, obviously they were being deceitful regardless. Yeah. The question is more so around the specific wording. And I'll try to look it up as well. But just for argument's sake, right, if we were looking at it, because you're familiar with, this topic, right, even if we don't have it right now, because I think John and other people have brought it up.
Yeah, he mentioned it, and these are the hadiths he brought up, and they don't say what he said.
Yeah, but let's say, I don't want to hold you up too much to it, but, I know we brought it up, and I'll look at it quickly if we can as well. But if there was a discrepancy, how would you reconcile with that, with your point of view, if you're saying it's the same Torah and Injil in Medina?
Yeah, well, what I would show is that that's just incorrect, because we have the Torah, and so we see that these narrations got the contents of the Torah wrong.
That's one option, right? Or there's a different Torah or Injil. Both options are plausible.
I don't think that another option is plausible, because there's absolutely no evidence of another Torah other than what we have. There's not a single shred of evidence of that.
No,
So
no.
that'll be like how atheists try to say, argue, science will, come up with something for an explanation for the existence of God.
Yeah,
It's,
yeah, that I know what you're saying. But what I'm saying is, if we're using right the Islamic paradigm and stuff like that, if it ends up going against the narrative that you're trying to bring up, which is fine, we can't just throw it out and dismiss it. Oh, they got it wrong. It's because what would happen, right, in that scenario, the Jews or the Christians, because there has been pushback from their side, they would say, hey, why are you quoting this wrong? We have the Torah. This doesn't say this, right?
You're talking about in this narration?
Yeah, I'm saying like with the eyeliner one or anything similar, right, across the board. If there was something being misquoted, right, and you're claiming the Torah and Injil are the same, and even the one in Medina, right? You're saying that the narration is just getting it incorrect, right? That's what you said.
Yeah.
But I'm saying that the Jews and the Christians, when it's being told to them, this is what they said, they would have corrected it.
They told to who? Are you talking about to the Jews within the Hadith, or Jews like
like meaning the Jews and the Christians, because Prophet Muhammad interacted with them, right? They came to Medina. There's different kind of delegations that sent out, right? Various things.
No, all we have are the reports from Muslims. We have reports from Muslims.
I agree. I know what you're saying, but what I'm saying is we can't go all the way saying that this is what the Islamic narrative is, and then when it shows something different, it's not authentic because Muslims are saying it.
Well, no, what I'm saying, no, I hope please don't misrepresent me. I never said that. I said that there's no evidence at all for this phantom Torah that existed that was different from the Torah that I have today. There's not a shred of evidence. That's why I'm saying it's dismissible.
Yeah,
because there's no evidence of this, but there's evidence of the contrary, that my Torah has always been the Torah for generations.
Yeah, what I would say is just because this is a Muslim hadith narration, that's not just enough of a reason to dismiss it. You would have to actually look at the historicity of the hadith. Doesn't line up.
My brother, what would get me to accept that there was another Torah in Medina different than the Torah that we have or was known of that I have today, and from generations from before the apostles and Jesus, and the one that Daniel was quoting from and Jeremiah was quoting from that matches what I have.
Yeah.
What we would need is that Torah, or a copy of that Torah, some rendition of that Torah that is different. We'll need the manuscripts. We'll need the scrolls. We'll need the evidence.
You would need textual manuscript or variation.
Yeah, we would need the evidence.
Okay. But so we'll pivot to that point, right? Since that's your basis, right? Essentially.
Let's leave it. Look, because I have to go into the barbershop.
Sure.
But I want you to go ahead. If you want to wrap this up with a point, I do want you to come back. Yeah.
No, I appreciate it. Really.
Please.
Yeah, definitely.
Because being able to go back and forth like this with somebody who can think.
Yeah, I'm with you. I appreciate it.
Okay.
So I think, what it comes down to is the veracity of the text, essentially, right? Between, your basis is, and then that would be your claim, right? That the Torah and Injil are preserved, right? Essentially, they are the original scriptures. So maybe we discuss that next time, right? Maybe you can bring evidences forth. Hey, this is why I believe, and we can take the Quran out of it, because this can be like a historical kind of point of view, or like a manuscript kind of evidence standpoint. Because if we can prove that, we can build upon that. But if you can also prove vice versa, that there has been corruption or there is inconsistency, then that argument falls as well. So maybe that's the best way to continue next time.
So my thing is this, that if there was if there's corruption and inconsistency in the Torah, then this would mean still that the Quran is attesting to the truth of corrupted scripture. That's my point. If the Torah is intact and is what I have, then the Quran is in trouble, because obviously the Quran contradicts it a lot of times, right?
Yeah.
If the Torah is corrupted, then the Quran is still in trouble, because it's attesting to the truth of a corrupted book. So either way, it's a dilemma.
Yeah, I mean, that's where we see the difference, right? What I'm arguing again is partial corruption and partial truth, right? And that type of thing. So that's what I'm saying. Even if, for argument's sake, you can say, let's say the Quran is false and Islam is false, it still doesn't. You still have to prove your point of view in regards to the.
That's true. I got to show you my position is correct.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Exactly. Yeah. So even if we were to do that, right, which you and me, fine, we're agreeing to disagree on the point of view of what the Quran is conveying. That we can leave that. But what we can discuss is the historicity and the text and the veracity of the Torah. How long, when was it written, what manuscript evidence. what do historical scholars have to say? And I'm with. By the way,
100%.
there's
100%.
the Orientalists, right? Generally speaking, I know they're essentially maybe a-religious, so I won't say they're the full authority. So even if you come back, people like Barterman or whatever, they may be really against the Bible, or whatever. I'm not claiming they're the end all be all, but there is some, kind of definitely, I would say, like, credence behind some of these things, when we're looking at it.
If there is, and we're quoting people like Bart Ehrman, then we got to submit.
No, I've already gave you the caveat. I'm not saying everything he says is, the quote unquote the gospel, right? From that perspective. So I'm with you on that because they attack kind of religion whole base.
All right, we'll touch on this. We'll touch on this next time.
I appreciate it, man. Thanks so much.
I appreciate you, bro. For real. Thanks for coming, bro.
We'll be in touch, man. I look forward to the next stream.
For sure. God bless.
Thanks, man.
All right, let me get to some super chats before I get going. So we got. Let me go up a little bit. 2-3 the general says, "Would you evangelize in Minnesota ever?" I'm not opposed to that. I'm not opposed to that at all. But I would need to know some spots. Like if there's some spots where there's like heavy traffic of people, and like there's a lot of engagement, then yeah, I'll let me know where everybody is at. What's the hot spot? And I'll definitely go out and evangelize in Minnesota. I have no problem with that. I got family in Minnesota. I got an uncle and cousins in Minnesota. So that would actually be a.
All right, welcome back, guys. That was a very fascinating one. Let us know your views in the comment section. And in case you have not subscribed to this channel, please do well to subscribe, hit the notification button, share this video, and also do well to like it as well. Muhammad is the author of the Quran, so I don't think the Quran should be the source to validate his authenticity. And even him himself said he came to confirm the previous scripture. If his message does not align with the previous scripture he claimed he came to confirm, then he is not a true prophet. That being said, for the claim of the young man that the Quran is the valid source to confirm the authenticity of the prophethood of Muhammad, it is not possible because he is the one that wrote the Quran. So the Quran should be able to favor him, who is the writer, who is the author. If the mathematical miracle of the Quran is what makes the Quran to be true, then that same mathematical error can be used to disqualify the Quran from being a true book from Allah. The power of any truth in time is the ability of that truth to remain consistent through time and through phases. So if it can be applied to one aspect of life and not to the other, then I don't think that argument should hold based on the logic of this young man. Though he was very honest with his questions and he didn't beat around the bush answering questions. But these are things that need to be put into perspective in order not to confuse people. Why modern Muslims may be committed to an impossibly conservative position, Muslim scholars of the years past of Islam were far more flexible, realizing that parts of the Quran were lost, perverted, and that there were many thousand variances which made it impossible to talk of the Quran. So you can see that 21st century Muslims are not being honest about the textual variances and other errors in the Quran. All they want to push to people is that they believe that the book is perfectly preserved and there is no error in it. And once you say there is no error in any contextual book written by humans, then you're making a mistake. There must be, because human factors must be in it. If Allah told Muhammad that he can look to the people of the book to alleviate Muhammad's doubt, but Muslim says that the scriptures are corrupted, then Allah had lied or deceived Muhammad by allowing him to confirm a corrupt book. If you believe that Allah told the prophet to go to other previous scriptures to elevate him of his ignorance of things that he does not know, and at the same time you're telling us that that book Allah pointed out to Muhammad to go and look into is corrupt, then you're telling us that Allah deceived Muhammad by telling him to go and look into a book that is corrupted. So these are little things that spoils your religion. But since you want to win every debate and make it look like your religion is true, then you end up destroying it the more. And this debate here is so satisfying to watch, as both parties kept to the rule of the debate by answering questions directly. There is no tap dancing and no beating around the bush, and it was an exciting one to watch. So guys, let's know your views about this video in the comment section. Don't forget to share it with your friends, your family. Subscribe to the channel if you have not done so. Thank you for watching. We will love to see you in our next one.